Welcome back to Random History. I'm your navigator as we explore the little-known events and people that make history such an amazing subject. The events I delve into are probably not ones you learned about in school. These are the ones that when you do hear about them, you're likely to think that they could not possibly be real. But they are. Several years ago, I stumbled upon a video of an extended commercial from the Sainsbury company in Britain that portrayed an event I had heard about, but really didn't know anything about. It portrayed the Christmas Truce of 1914 in World War I. There was also a making-of type video linked to it. The story and images were inspiring and really struck a chord with me. Every time I teach about World War I show the video because even at the ugliest of times, we can still find hope and beauty. As we celebrate Christmas this year, after all the bitterness and vitriol we endured through this election year, let's keep the message of hope and beauty alive as Random History presents the Christmas Truce of 1914. The Christmas Truce of 1914 remains one of the most poignant and extraordinary events of World War I, a conflict otherwise known for its relentless brutality and suffering. In the midst of all this bloodshed that defined the war, soldiers on both sides laid down their arms, stepped out of their trenches, and came together in a spontaneous, unofficial ceasefire that offered a brief glimpse of humanity amid the horrors of battle. This truce was really unplanned and unsanctioned by military authorities. It became a symbol of peace and goodwill in one of the darkest periods of modern history. By December of 1914, World War I had already claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. The conflict, which began in the summer of that year, had rapidly escalated into a full-scale war involving multiple nations, including the major powers of Europe: Germany, Austria-Hungary, the United Kingdom, France, and Russia. The Western Front, stretching across France and Belgium, had become a particularly brutal theater of war, characterized by trench warfare where soldiers on both sides endured horrendous conditions. The trenches were a living hell. Soldiers faced the constant threat of death from artillery bombardments, sniper fire, and poison gas attacks. The landscape between the trenches, known as no man's land, was a desolate, cratered expanse littered with barbed wire and the remains of the fallen. Life in the trenches was miserable, with soldiers contending with mud, rats, lice, and the cold winter weather. Morale was low, and the war, initially expected to be over by Christmas, showed no signs of ending. As Christmas approached, there was a growing sense of despair and homesickness among the troops. Letters and parcels from home, along with small Christmas trees and candles sent by the German High Command, reminded soldiers of the festive season. Despite the ongoing war, there were rumors and hopes among the troops that some sort of ceasefire might occur during the holiday, though such ideas were not officially endorsed by military leaders. Early in December, Pope Benedict XV had even proposed a Christmas truce, calling for a temporary halt to the fighting to allow for negotiations and peace. However, his appeal was largely ignored by the warring nations' governments, who were determined to continue the war effort. Yet, the idea of a truce resonated with many soldiers on the front lines who were tired of the constant fighting and yearning for a moment of peace. The Christmas truce began in various areas of the Western Front on Christmas Eve, December 24th, 1914. It was not a coordinated effort, but rather a series of individual ceasefires that spread along the front, initiated by the soldiers themselves. The first signs of a truce appeared when German soldiers began decorating their trenches with candles and small Christmas trees. They sang carols, particularly Stille Nacht, or Silent Night, which the British troops recognized and joined in singing from their own trenches. In many areas, the singing was followed by shouts of Christmas greetings across no man's land. Gradually, soldiers began to emerge from their trenches, often cautiously, to meet in the middle. What followed was an extraordinary scene. Men who had been shooting at each other just hours before now shook hands, exchanged gifts, or shared rations. Items such as food, tobacco, alcohol, and souvenirs like buttons and badges were traded. In some cases, makeshift soccer games, were played on the frozen ground of no man's land, with soldiers from both sides taking part. In one of the most famous accounts, British soldier Bruce Bairnsfather described how he and his comrades met with German soldiers. Quote, "There was not an atom of hate on either side that day." This sentiment was echoed by many who participated in the truce, noting the stark contrast between the camaraderie of the day and the violence that had preceded it. The Christmas Truce was met with mixed reactions from military leadership. While some officers on both sides supported the ceasefire, seeing it as an opportunity to recover the dead and injured, others were deeply disturbed by the fraternization between enemy troops. Commanders issued orders forbidding such interactions in the future, and some soldiers who participated in the truce faced disciplinary actions. Nevertheless, the truce had a profound impact on those who experienced it. Many soldiers wrote home about the event, describing the surreal nature of shaking hands with the enemy. The letters and diaries from this period reflect a sense of shared humanity that transcended the horrors of war. One British soldier wrote, "It was a Christmas celebration in the modern style, with very little peace and goodwill on earth and none in heaven. But it was remarkable that even in this conflict, the enemy soldiers were human beings." The truce was short-lived, lasting in most places until Christmas Day, though in some sectors it extended into the new year. By December 26, the fighting had resumed as orders from high command reasserted control, and the war continued with its full fury. The Christmas truce did not lead to a broader peace, and the conflict would drag on for 4 more years, claiming millions of lives. However, the memory of the truce endured. It became a powerful symbol of hope and the possibility of peace, even in the most dire of circumstances. The event has even been memorialized in literature, music, and film, serving as a reminder of the human capacity for compassion and empathy, even in times of war. Historians have debated the extent and the significance of the Christmas truce. Some accounts suggest that the truce was widespread, affecting large portions of the Western Front, while others argue that it was more isolated, occurring mainly in certain sectors where the conditions were conducive to such an event. The reasons behind the truce are also a subject of discussion. While the spirit of Christmas and the shared suffering of the soldiers are often cited as key factors, others point to particular considerations, such as the opportunity to recover the dead and wounded from no man's land, or simply a temporary respite from the horrors of battle. Despite these debates, there is no doubt that the Christmas truce was a remarkable moment in the history of World War I. It stands as a testament to the fact that even in the midst of the most inhumane conditions, humanity can prevail. The soldiers who participated in the truce defied the expectations of their leaders and the logic of war, choosing instead to recognize their common humanity, if only for a brief time. The Christmas Truce of 1914 stands as a remarkable moment in history where soldiers on both sides of a brutal conflict put aside their weapons and embraced the spirit of the holiday season. It was a fleeting but powerful expression of humanity that offered a brief rest from the horrors of war. Although the truce did not lead to a lasting peace, its legacy endures as a symbol of hope and the possibility of reconciliation, even in the most challenging of circumstances. The truce serves as a reminder that despite the divisions and conflicts that often dominate human history, there is always the potential for understanding, compassion, and peace. It is a story that continues to inspire and resonate, offering a timeless lesson about the power of shared humanity in the face of adversity. That really is a common theme in many of the stories that I've shared with you as we've gone through this series. And as we move through this Christmas season, I truly hope that we can find common ground and once again realize that we really do have so much more in common than we have as differences. And as we move through this Christmas season, I really hope that we take a moment to recognize and thank those who have sacrificed for our freedoms. In fact, there are so many people in history who have sacrificed everything to protect the gift of freedom. Even those whom this country has mistreated or even denied many of the freedoms we enjoy today, they still answered that call to duty. Our true hero for this episode falls into this category. He was born into a country that, despite the outcome of the Civil War, still harbored profound discrimination and prejudice towards African Americans. Despite this, he put himself in harm's way to fight against tyranny, even to the point of calling in artillery fire onto his own position to keep German forces from overrunning his comrades. Due to the rampant discrimination of the time, his heroism would not be fully recognized until nearly 80 years later. Our true hero for today was one of the Buffalo Soldiers of the 92nd Infantry Division. His name, Lieutenant John R. Fox. I want to bring attention to Lieutenant Fox because he should be remembered as a true American hero whose courageous actions during World War II exemplified extraordinary bravery and self-sacrifice. Born on 18 May 1915 in Cincinnati, Ohio, Fox grew up during a period of racial segregation in the United States. Despite facing significant barriers, he pursued higher education and attended Wilberforce University, a historically black college in Ohio. There, he joined the Reserve Officer Training Corps, or ROTC, and earned his commission as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army. This journey was significant, not only for Fox, but for the broader narrative of African American soldiers striving to serve in a military that had not yet embraced racial integration. After joining the 92nd Infantry Division, known as the Buffalo Soldiers, Fox was deployed to Italy during World War II. The 92nd was a segregated unit composed of black soldiers and often assigned dangerous missions with insufficient support. Despite these overwhelming obstacles, the soldiers served bravely, and Fox's actions on 26 December 1944 in the small Italian village of Sommo-Colonia made him a symbol of selfless courage. On that day, Fox and his unit found themselves in a perilous situation as German forces launched a major assault on Sommo-Colonia. Outnumbered and facing overwhelming odds, Fox volunteered to stay behind in the village to direct artillery fire and provide cover for his comrades' retreat. This decision demonstrated a profound sense of duty and a willingness to sacrifice his life for the lives of others. From an elevated position in a house within the village, Fox communicated with artillery units, coordinating strikes that slowed the German advance. However, as the battle intensified, he realized that German forces had infiltrated the area surrounding his position. Rather than retreat, Fox made an extraordinary choice. He called in artillery fire directly on his own location, knowing it would likely result in his own death. His final transmission confirmed his resolve. Fire it. There's more of them than there are of us. This action inflicted significant casualties on the enemy, allowing many of his fellow soldiers to escape and reassemble with Allied forces. Fox's ultimate sacrifice was initially overlooked in the aftermath of World War II. Racial prejudice within the U.S. military contributed to the delay in recognizing his heroism. African American soldiers, despite their contributions, often faced discrimination, and acts of valor by black servicemen were frequently downplayed or disregarded totally. It was not until the 1990s, after the Army reevaluated cases involving black soldiers who had served in World War II, that Fox's bravery received formal acknowledgement. In 1997, President Bill Clinton posthumously awarded Lieutenant John R. Fox the Medal of Honor, the highest military honor in the United States, recognizing his valor and selflessness. Fox's story is not only one of bravery, but also a testament to the resilience and dedication of African American soldiers who fought against both foreign enemies and domestic inequality. His sacrifice serves as a powerful reminder of the contributions made by black servicemen throughout American history, contributions that were often undervalued. Fox's actions on that December day perfectly depict the very essence of heroism, the willingness to put the welfare of others above oneself, even in the face of certain death. His legacy endures as an example of courage and selflessness, inspiring future generations of soldiers and civilians alike. There is so much we have to be thankful for, not just at Christmas time, but throughout the year. Our family and friends, the brave men and women that sacrifice so much for us to live the way we do, especially the ones I've highlighted through these stories. Please take some time this Christmas to truly be with your loved ones, not just physically there, but mentally and emotionally there with them as well. They are the true gifts that we have received. Show them your love and appreciation every day, but especially on this day. This brings us to the end of another episode of Random History. I hope you enjoyed it and will come back and listen to future episodes. If you'd like to view the transcript or sources for this episode, click the link in the description. You can also make suggestions for future topics by clicking that same link or shooting us an email. As always, I want to thank Argos Media for producing Random History and to thank my wife for her continued support and inspiration. And until next time, make some history of your own. And Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Navigator out.